All right. Hello, everybody. Let me just get my bearings here. I'm flicking around with a couple of different cameras and things. And welcome to the Global Star Party. I believe it's episode 39, maybe. A bunch of people with us. But just bear with me while I do some stuff here. Okay. Now, I'm getting some feedback in my ears, unfortunately, because I'm doing this through my phone, which is not great. Let me see if I can switch over. Got all sorts of feedback then. And still am.
It's the Pink Floyd version.
Yes. All right, can you hear me okay? Excellent. All right, tonight we have myself, we have Kevin Franklin, we have Paul Stewart, who's just hanging out. We have Ronnie, who's sorting out some audio issues, I think, at the minute. And we have me again, because I've got two different angles here, which is pretty trippy. And we have some live views as well. And before we lose these live views, I'm going to try and flick over to one right now, because weather always comes and upsets the party, so we may as well just get straight into it. Here is a live view of Jupiter, planet of the moment. Well, it's had its opposition and now it's still pretty high, early evening, but the next cab off the rank, I think, is Mars and then Saturn. Is that right, Kevin?
That's right. Mars is looking good at the moment. Have to be up a little bit later to catch it at its meridian, but it's actually getting quite a bit bigger. You can see it, the difference week by week. So by about June, it should be about 2/3 the size that Jupiter is at the moment.
Very, very cool. So we're looking at a luminance filter view of Jupiter from my little backyard observatory. The frame rate's not great. It is actually really good on the laptop, but because it's going through Wi-Fi and then coming back in through the house and then going out through the Hangout, the frame rate just drops off dramatically because I'm screen sharing this from the imaging laptop. But you can see the great red spot, and you can see where my mouse is now. There's a great red spot transiting across the face, which happens pretty quickly. So you can image it going from one edge to the other over the course of a few hours, about 3 or 4 hours, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to get a good sequence for a video.
Yeah, I've seen some good sequences lately from our astronomers in the Global Star Party green room. Andrew Wall did one recently, and Chris Kennedy did another one. I think the trick is just taking shot after shot after shot, because it's so quick you can stitch them all together and it looks like quite a smooth little transition, which is nice. Just before we started, the great red spot was up over here, and just over the course of the last half hour, it's really just moved across, and it's going to keep going throughout the course of the show. So I might just share with you quickly an image of Jupiter that I did get to process just a few moments before the show started. So let me just pull that up. Too many windows. Here we go.
Okay, so you can hear me? Who's that?
We can hear you, Ronnie, and we're live on the show. You had your mic on before, and I had to mute you. Are you okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, so this is Jupiter from just about an hour ago, I'd say now, before the great red spot came over. Just a quick RGB stack. Unfortunately, it's really windy here tonight. The seeing isn't great, but at least it's something close to live. Now I'm going to flick over.
NRTV.
What's that, Ronnie?
NRTV. Near real.
Near real time, yes. Hey, Ronnie, do you have anything for us tonight?
I haven't been out for 3 nights because it's been cloudy and rainy, but tonight's going to be awesome. I just want to get some issues done so I can end up going live. I'm a disabled amateur astronomer.
Cool.
And I have trouble doing that. I can only use one hand. My right side shakes. It was paralyzed.
Right.
Well, but now it shakes, so
I'm going to
go that way.
Go ahead. Please just, if you get anything live, just feel free to jump in and let us know, and we'll flick over to you. But for the minute, I'm going to flick over to Kevin, who has a live view of something. I don't know what it is.
It's a very wobbly moon is what it is.
Yeah, there's a bit of wobble in the atmosphere tonight.
Yeah, it's an absolute horror. But this is with a Barlow lens as well, which multiplies the seeing difficulties. So, the moon's only just gone past full yesterday, and so the limb of the moon where there's shadows visible is actually right on the very edge. And you can see there I've got, if everyone can see, I've got Stevinus crater there in view. But the one I find always more interesting is just a little bit south of that, and moving south now. You can just see too some of the nice shadowing that on a better night we'd be a very good imaging opportunity. And just coming into view there now, and in the south is Patavia's crater with that funny radial line coming from the central peak out to the rim there. So when the shadows are right, it's a spectacular crater. Really bring out that reel in the centre there.
Well, that's a really nice live view, anyway.
It's not bad. It's not bad for the conditions. There we go. Yep. So in a few moments, where the wind hasn't been so bad, and we scroll back north again. Hang on, that's the other way north. That's the other north. My telescope's confused about the hemisphere we're in.
Funny that.
And we get down to the Sea of Crises, which will just be coming into view there. Come on, there you are. There it is. And this time of the moon phase is another good opportunity to see some of the shadows around the mountains of the Mare Crisium. Excuse my Latin if the pronunciation is not correct. But the Sea of Crises. So it's also another one to catch very early in the moon phase when it's a very slim crescent moon. But as it sets very early, and it's not a very easy object to image early on during the course, but after full moon, this area comes into its own. As you were saying before the show, it's a nice libration for it at the moment.
Yeah.
Brings it around into view nicely.
So libration is when the moon is spinning around the Earth, it's actually, even though it's tidally locked, so we always see the same face, there is a bit of a wobble to it. So we see it slowly go round one way and then round the other way and then round the other way. It's sort of like a ball just sort of wobbling from side to side as it spins around us. And that's called libration, which means we get to see a little less and a little more of craters on the edge each phase.
Yeah, there are some features on the far side of the moon that are only visible during certain libration periods. So you get almanacs that the astronomy guide for Australia, I think you probably get that, has a detailed log of all the maximum librations for each month. Oh, the wind's just pushed my scope right out of alignment there.
Okay.
I just go off screen share for a moment.
Yeah, no trouble. All right. There's my live view again. Lately, because the planets have been so high, I've sort of taken off all my nebula stuff and just concentrated on planets for a little while, which has been really good.
Your beloved hyperstar.
Yes, my beloved hyperstar has been off. And I've even been imaging a little bit in F10 as well. I got this Sombrero Galaxy the other day, which is a fairly small target. But yeah, I still like that wide field stuff.
Need a bit more patience imaging at F10, don't you?
Yes, certainly do. Well, Sombrero is quite bright, really, so I was still able to get away with 2-minute single frames, and that did quite nicely. That was fine. I do have something topical that I can share. Let me show you something I did the other day for a viewer question. Hopefully you guys can see that. Because the planets are up and I've been doing a lot of planetary stuff, this is the basic process for coming up with a planet image. This is an image of Mars I took the other day, and here is the basic process. You start with the video over here. In this case, on Mars, I was doing, I think I was even doing up to 2 minutes, or maybe a minute. And it looks quite blurry in the video. It's quite grainy. But you shoot enough frames, then you can pick out the good ones. And I've got a very fast camera. When you crop in like this around a planet, you're only using a fraction of the chip's sensor. So it's able to record that video really, really fast. And with this, I ended up with something like 10 or 15,000 frames, so I could just pick the best 5%, which is plenty to get rid of the noise, which is what you get here. So once it's stacked, it gets rid of all that grain fuzz. So you get a nice smooth image, and you get real detail in there. But that detail doesn't come out until you run some sharpening on it. There's all sorts of different sharpening you can do. You can do just standard Photoshop, unsharp mask, or smart sharpen. You can do deconvolution, which comes straight out of Otto Stack and other stacking programs, or you can do Registacks, wavelets, and I think PixInsight has wavelets as well. For this one, I'm pretty sure what I did was, I think it might have been a combination. I think I just used deconvolution, and then I did a little bit of de-ringing, which is part of the wavelets feature in Registacks. And of course, I do that 3 times, once for each channel, red, green, and blue, stack them together, and I was happy enough to get a detailed enough image of Mars that I could see some cloud, I could see the polar cap, and I could make out enough of the surface details to look at a map of Mars and figure out where it was, which I can't tell you now because I'm just not good with, I'm not even good with the moon topology, let alone Mars. But I think Mons is somewhere in here in the middle. Couldn't actually resolve that. But yeah, that's Mars.
Yeah. Mons is,
Go ahead, Ronnie.
that's all right. Mons should be the lower right.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I was able to match this feature
Yeah.
and all of these. And this is the South Pole here, on this corner.
So the lower right would be the upper.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm in the nude. And everything's upside down.
Yes, that's right. I think you're upside down. We're the right way up here.
I have noticed that when your final processed images are always turned north way up.
Always turn.
I think you've sold out.
This is north way up. This way.
That's what I mean. All your images are north side up. That's not the right way.
Yes, I did notice that you go south up, but south up is, at least for Jupiter, that's meant to be the convention, isn't it? I read somewhere that was actually the right way to do it, with south side up.
Is that right?
Yeah, there was some university who set the standard for it. So I think you are actually doing it the right way.
I'll be one of the only ones.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps pointing out on my images. Why is the great red spot on the wrong side? Say it's not. It's on exactly where it needs to be.
Yeah.
So I've got Mars.
Oh, really?
It's a live view in windy conditions. And it's not going to be spectacularly good, but I'll share it anyway. Let me just find the right button.
Yeah.
That one. Here we go.
Great. I can see it.
Look at that.
But I can actually see some detail there.
You can. It's wobbling like a trooper. Let me just zoom in.
That is so cool.
So there we go. There's a blob. There's some white. I do apologise for the movement, but it is a very windy night tonight.
What is that noise?
It's coming from someone's microphone. Not me.
Sorry, Ronnie, I might mute you from time to time just because that always takes over a bit.
So I think you can see a bit of white at the very at the top there. That could be a bit of polar cap there. Some darker terrain and a plain a plain below it. I won't say south or north. Ooh, there goes my mount. Like I said, it's the Pink Floyd version tonight.
It really is windy. Kevin is, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half north of where I am, but the wind is here as well.
The Bureau's put out a marine wind warning.
Yeah.
There are a few moments of steadiness. There you go.
Yeah.
So I won't be braving after the show to try and get any sharper images of that. I think that's as good as it gets. A Q&A question, Dylan. Paul's telling us there's a Q&A question.
Oh, great. Let's have a look. There are 6 viewers, which means there's more viewers than there are astronomers for once, which is great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Ronald Minch says, any new comets in the solar system I may be able to see soon with binoculars. There was a comet called 252P Linear, which was visible with binoculars. It might still be, although it's fading out. And it's gone past the Milky Way core sort of area and Ophiuchus, or however it's pronounced. I think that's the brightest one at the moment. I don't know of any newly discovered ones or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure that's the comet of the moment. Unless anyone else has any other info that I don't have.
I usually keep an eye out for that, but I haven't heard anything new.
Mm-hmm. And here's an interesting question from Samuel Wallace. What telescopes would you recommend for beginners with a limited budget?
Oh, the eternal question.
Yep.
It depends on what you want to see and how disappointed you'll be when you don't see it.
That's very cynical, Kevin.
Well, people want to get into astronomy for all sorts of different reasons. They want to see different things. They're interested in different aspects. You know, as well as I do, there are telescopes that are good for one thing that are no good for another.
Yep.
Then you buy a telescope thinking you're going to see Hubble images and don't. Then you've got to spend years training yourself to try and make them like Hubble and fail.
And a lot of money later.
Well, that's what someone posted the other day, a good one, and say, get your kids into astronomy early and later on they'll have no money for drugs.
That's right. That's exactly right. I get this question a lot, actually, about beginners and new telescopes, and it's a hard one because limited budget means that you are very limited in what you're going to be able to do. You're not going to be able to do nebulas on a limited budget. Even doing high magnification planetary stuff like we're doing live here can be difficult on a budget. If you are restricted budget-wise, then I tend to always recommend going for a DSLR camera first, because at least with a DSLR, even though it's not a telescope, you can do a lot of stuff. You can do nebulas with a DSLR and a long lens and just a tripod that's not even tracking. You can do planets to some degree. You can resolve the moons of Jupiter with a DSLR camera and a tripod and nothing else. You can do conjunctions, you can do Milky Way shots, and then during the day you can just use a DSLR camera as a DSLR camera. So I think from a budgetary point of view, it's a really low-level entry into astrophotography and a great start. But for telescopes, it's sort of hard for me to recommend something on a limited budget, and the minimum I kind of recommend is a little 4-inch Schmidt Cassegrain, because at least you can look at the bright nebulas, you can look at solar, lunar, planets, and it's probably going around the $800 mark, but it's got a motorized mount. That's the Celestron 4SE, it's the one I started on. So it is a good all-rounder before you decide which way you're going to specialize. So I hope that answers the question somehow, Samuel. I'm going to bounce back to Kevin's magnificent view of Mars here. I don't think we've had Mars on the show before.
Yeah. So, well, it's only, as you know, it only comes around every couple of years. My computer, for some reason, is about to run out of power, even though I've got it plugged in to an AC power source. So hopefully I can keep it alive. The charger keeps going off on me.
Oh.
I think I've got it. I've got everything plugged into a 12-volt hub here.
Oh, right.
Out by the poolside. So for those of us who don't have full observatory setups with AC power.
It is a luxury I've been enjoying lately.
Oh, no, that wasn't directed at you, Dylan. Sorry.
Speaking of which, I can probably show you something to do with my observatory while we're just between things. 1 second.
I think that's enough Mars.
So my observatory is really just my backyard, and I've been presumptuous enough to call it the Byron Bay Observatory. And if you so feel like, it has a website now called byronbayobservatory.com.au. So instead of boring everyone on my social media with all my stuff, I can just spam my own website. So if you want to check out the nightly stuff, whatever I'm doing, I'll throw it up there. And that's all I'll say about that.
I hope you got a trademark on that name.
I don't, but I own the domain name, so that's good enough these days.
See if I can find some Saturn for you.
Fantastic.
Being on Team Saturn as I am.
Everyone's we've been joking that everyone's Team Jupiter or Team Saturn. It's like being a cat person or a dog person. No, I'm definitely Team Jupiter. There's something about the king of the planets.
Well, you know, when you introduced to astronomy, it's either the Galilean moons or Saturn's rings, and whichever one you saw first, and have that romantic memory for.
That is true, actually. You know, I saw Jupiter before I saw Saturn through a telescope as a young whippersnapper. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's just my biography. And let me see if I've got anything else to queue up while Kevin's doing some stuff there.
Team Sun, yeah, good on you, Paul.
Yes. Some people go the easy route. Paul is usually our telescope ninja with his observatory there in New Zealand, but not to be tonight. Here's a little photo of mine that I took last night, where you can see the South Celestial Pole behind.
Yeah, I saw that, Dylan. That was great. Do you process the foreground separately to the sky?
Yes, although in this picture, the only parts of the foreground that were laid on as a composite is this bit here for the dome itself.
So the trees in the foreground are exposed as they were.
Yeah, you know what? All the trees were actually that still throughout the whole exposure.
You wouldn't be able to do that tonight.
No, not a chance. Although you do see my wind monitor. Oh, I think it's called an anemometer, the wind meter up here.
Anemometer.
Anemometer?
Anemometer.
Anemometer.
That's right, I'll practice later.
So it was spinning a little bit, but it was mostly just still, really still. So yeah, you can see the South Celestial Pole spinning around there. And that's sort of how I'm positioned. All right, now we have some live Saturn.
It's a wobbly Saturn, as they all have been tonight.
At least we have live views, and these are good, good live.
Still quite views. Low down on the horizon, so so that in the wind, and yeah, not a great night for it. Not as sharp as some. So, see if I can show you that one I took the other night. A few nights ago, we had much better conditions.
I'm just going to leave that live view of Saturn up for a bit. Swap mics here. Give me a sec.
What's that up for?
So Saturn, like Mars, I mean, Saturn's very close to Mars in the sky at the moment. It's just coming around opposition. So hopefully there'll be more opportunities to get stuck into it.
Yeah, I did get my first shot of the season just the other night. That turned out way better than I thought it would. And I actually based my colour treatment of it on your previous work, Kevin, to get that nice kind of blue out of the rings. It turned out pretty good.
Well, you know, I see a lot of all the Cassini images, and the rings seem to be a very similar tone to the main body of the planet. I don't know if you've noticed that. Yeah, I don't process the rings and the planet separately, and when you fix up the colour balance, you know, they definitely quite are different shades, and you get that little bluish tinge, that icy tinge.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't have to process them separately at all. I just balanced the colour, and that's how it came out.
I know Michael Phillips, I think I heard him mention once that he does process the rings and the body of the planet separately. Yeah. Check with him about that another time. So I don't know if am I sharing there? That's the one I took a few nights ago.
Very nice.
Alright.
And that's all stacked and sharpened and played with in Photoshop to get all the bits and pieces looking nice.
Which Photoshop?
Sorry, I missed that, Ronnie.
I use CS2. I use CS2. Which Photoshop are you using?
Which Photoshop?
On your plan.
CS6.
Oh, well.
I haven't bought the subscription yet.
I've got a few more tools.
It's cutting out quite badly for me. It's hard for me to understand.
I do use the Star Tools kit to do the RGB composition, just because it's quick and easy. But most of it's just the standard stuff in Photoshop.
It's RGB aligned and balanced. Okay.
Yeah, and well, when you stack them in Auto Stack, it centers the planet, so you don't really need to align them. You just stack the processed channel images one on top of the other, and they just line up. If you use Registacks, then it'll put the image wherever you put it on the acquisition screen, and when you stack the RGB channels, you need to line them up. But that's easy enough to do in Photoshop if you do that manually. But Auto Stack, it makes it a lot easier by centering the planet when it does the stacking.
Yeah, I take it in Auto Stacker, and then I do the analysis, and I'll do the 3 steps, and then I go into Registack. But how do I get it to not stack in Registack and go straight to wavelengths? Or can it be done? Because it's like it wants to align it twice.
I think all you have to do is open the file. So you just select and just open the file.
You select a TIFF rather than the AVI.
Yeah.
And it'll take you straight to the wavelets page.
Oh. Well, it turns into a TIFF or a PNG, whichever I select, and I'll stack it after it's done.
Yeah. Whichever image file format you choose, you can open that in Registacks and just apply the wavelets to it directly.
Can you? I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah. No, that's how I do it. The other thing you can do is Auto Stack. It has a sharpening function, which the developer says, it's just a basic thing, but it actually comes out with results that aren't that far off, which you get once you've run it through wavelets and Registacks. You actually get quite a sharp image. If you tick the box in Auto Stack where it says sharpened and blend in 50% of the original stack to that, you actually come out with quite a reasonable sharpened image without having to do any more.
Yeah, I really like it actually.
Yeah, the developer in his FAQ says, "Oh, don't use it. It's not the best, but it's not too bad."
Yeah.
But he says not to do a lot of other stuff that I do, and turns out all right.
Yeah, I think a lot of the big planetary images are using.
Something I gotta try.
The other thing he says not to do is use the automatic align points for planets, but I just can't sit there and put down manual align points.
Yeah, it works fine for me.
Too much work.
Yeah, I just put them down and then decrease them. And
I think what you've got to do is make sure you don't have the align points too large. Too small. Don't try to make them too fine. Keep the align point size at 40 or 50, and not too faint, so that you don't get too much of the limb. You don't want to get too close to the limb.
Right.
Sounds great.
I'm just looking at an image of Paul's recent sunspot here. I forget the designation, but I think it was the Love Hardy one recently. And we do have a question in Q&A from Cadrix saying, "Hey, can you perhaps look at my Flickr images and give me some tips?" So I've just had a quick look at your Flickr. Let me see if I can share this out. There's a lovely picture of the moon there, and the moon is the first obvious target. Without knowing anything about your setup, really, I think you're shooting with a Newtonian, and I'm not sure what you got in terms of camera gear and that, but I can see that with your first planet and moon shots, that you haven't gotten into stacking yet, which is what we were just talking about with Auto Stack It. Auto Stack It is a free program, and I really encourage you to download it because it's one of the best. it allows you to take a video or even a series of images and stack them together to pull out the best pixels from each of them and make a really sharp, noiseless image. So yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't give you any more advice. It looks like you're on the right track already, but yeah, sorry, I probably wasn't sharing that out to the room. That's the image there. So yeah, very, very good work, Conrad. You've got a Nikon, I see there. So yeah, definitely give Auto Stack a go, both with your planets and with the moon work, and that'll open up a whole other world for you. It's really, really good stuff. We probably don't have enough time to give a demo, but it's how the images that Kevin and I were sharing of Jupiter and Saturn were done by stacking the images, and I think even Paul's images of the sun as well are also stacked in Auto Stack it too. Correct me if I'm wrong, Paul.
And Paul's in team deconvolution rather than wavelets.
I do like deconvolution.
I haven't found a free program that offers it.
Yeah, Paul also says that Auto Stack it 2 is the best.
Yeah, that's it. Auto Stack it. That's that. You don't get very many options on it though. You don't. There's not a lot of choice. You just tick the box, and that's what it gives you.
In the sharpening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What I started out doing was actually taking that sharpened version and laying it over, or laying the unsharpened version over the top, and then in Photoshop doing like a 50-50 blend, so that if I wanted to pull back that sharpening a touch, and that actually worked really nicely.
Well, that's what there's underneath that checkbox in Auto Stack it. There's you can choose to blend in a certain percentage of the original stack. I suppose that serves the same kind of function.
Very good.
Trial and error.
Now, unfortunately, I can't spin my scope around to look at Saturn or Mars because I have a house in the way. So even though I lay claim to being the easternmost observatory in Australia, and indeed I am, there's a big house in front of the eastern view, so it's a bit of a furphy, really.
Can you tear it down?
I don't think.
Or is it your house?
I don't think my townhouse neighbours would approve. It's all strata, you see.
Yeah, when Donald Trump's president, you'll be able to do it.
That's right. Well, what else do we have? Probably not a lot else, really. And the conditions aren't great, so it might be a short show tonight, which is fine, because I think I might spend the rest of the evening finishing off this glass of wine and maybe waiting for Saturn to to pull over the house before the clouds come. It is actually forecast rain, so Kevin and I are sort of nervously watching the radar and getting ready to unplug quickly and close the dome and pull all the gear in.
I've been keeping a close eye on it all night.
Good. But I don't think we have anything else for you this evening, fellas. Thank you for tuning in. There has been up to 10 viewers live, and we get dozens of views throughout the week, so we really appreciate your patronage. And it's always fun. Just basically, it's just a bunch of us just hanging out and talking about space and doing some space stuff. And at the moment, it's galaxy season. There's galaxies nice and high. If you've got high magnification, there is the weather is sort of easing up here in Australia, so we can do more astronomy when it's clear. We do have the full moon tonight, which limits us. And the planets, of course, are the stars at the moment. No pun intended. So yeah, I'm going to say good night. Thanks for joining us, Kevin, and bringing us those live views. That was really great.
Pleasure.
And thank you, Paul, for sitting in, and Ronnie. Sorry about the audio issues before, but feel free to hang around. And yeah, thanks for all the people in Q&A as well. It was good to have a bit of user interaction there too. Really appreciate it. We'll see you on Instagram and Google Plus and YouTube and all the other socials. So thanks a lot, and we shall see you again next week. All right, bye-bye.
All right, sounds good.